And I am alive. Welcome to the Red Blue Podcast, the podcast we talk about movies and TV shows. Tonight, it's a super discussion with two Christopher Reeves era movies and a Henry Cavill discussion. So, this is Superman Night. Superman Night. With that being said, I hope all of you will enjoy. Let's go to the intro now. That's the thing to do. I just realized I wasn't wearing, well, I was wearing my headset, but it wasn't plugged. And I realized it with the intro. That's why it went on for a bit too long. Now, if you remember, or if you have been around my channel for quite some time, you may remember a review of the Superman movie and the Man of Steel movie. So, the main attraction for today will be Superman 2. We will still talk a little bit about the first Superman and Man of Steel. So now let's get into the wiki page of the original Superman and Man of Steel. And again, after we get to talk about the original Superman and Man of Steel, we will have a lot of emphasis on Superman 2. So let's get into it. Hopefully, my mic won't experience too much issues as I move tabs, because sometimes it does experience a few issues. So let's screen share. There we go. I was right. I got muted for some reason. So I will read it that way. I will actually zoom in a little bit because otherwise I can't see, unfortunately. That's what happens with my mic. Directed by Richard Donner. Screenplay by Mario Puzo, David Newman, Leslie Newman, Robert Penton. Story by Mario Puzo, based on Superman by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster, produced by P.S. Pingler. Starring Marlon Brando, Gene Hackman. Gene Hackman has always been a highly regarded Lex Luthor. Now, I may have a hot take. I think he's kind of a weak Lex Luthor. That's my hot take. He's better than whatever Eisenberg tried to do in BVS, but he is no Michael Rosenbaum. And I'd even say the new guy. I don't quite know the new guy name, but the one from the James Gunn Superman is actually a far better Lex Luthor. And we also had a great Lex Luthor in Superman and Lois. So I'd say Gene Hackman. It's sad to say, but that guy is one of the worst. Christopher Reeves as Superman. He will always be remembered as one of the best. And now, because my mic is weird, it will cut off in a sec. And we are back. The mic. So Ned Beatty, Jackie Cooper, Glenn Ford, Trevor Howard, Margot Kidder. So I have another hot take. I think Margot Kidder is okay as Lois Lane, but we got far better Lois Lane down the road. Erica Durance, better. Elizabeth Tulloch, better. Um, Who else? I think that's it. That's it. Yeah, I. Oh, Terry Atcher. I can't remember. I can't. I can't believe I almost forgot Terry Atcher. I think Terry Atcher was an amazing Lois Lane. So these are like the top Lois Lane in my books, and there's also the new lady. I think that's Rachel Brosnan. I think the new Lois Lane is amazing. Um, so the next name, Terrence Stamp, as I believe that was Joel Voice. I might be wrong on that one, but I think that was Joel Voice. Phyllis Taxter, Susanna York, cinematography Jeffrey Unsworth, edited by Stuart Baird, music by John Williams, production companies Dover Med Ltd, companies International Film. And now my mic will cut again. I don't know what's up with my mic. My mic experiences some issues. So we got the movie distributed by Columbia MI, distributor United Kingdom, Warner Bros. United States, release date December 10, 1978. Back then, that was a Christmas release. Since then, we got the Superman treatment during the summer. The next thing to say is the running time was 143 minutes, so that's 2 hour 23. Countries: UK, US, and Panama. I didn't know that. Interesting. And again, my mic did cut off. Switzerland was also involved, which is surprising. Language: English. Budget: 55 million. Box office: 300 million. So you know what? In today's numbers, that would be really massive. That would be very big. So this was the impact. This was the impact the movie had. It did 6 times its money. It's a massive success in 1978. What did you think, or I should say, what did I think of the Superman movie? I think the Superman movie was a great foundation for what would become eventually the superhero type movie. Amazing start. Christopher Reeve, amazing Superman. And that's a classic. If you have not seen the original Superman, go do that. It's a great movie. Now, again, there's a full review of that movie on my channel. So I remember giving that movie a 9.7. It was almost perfect. It only had a tiny, a small issue for me with this original Superman movie. Now, let's take a look to the Rotten Tomato to see what the audience, what the critic had to say on that movie. Now, again, my mic will be cut off for. So, we are coming back slowly. I will screen share the right tab. So, hopefully, it will work out well. There we go. Wrong page. Wrong page. So, we are back here. Hopefully, now that glitch will be fixed. So, we start with the critique. And again, my damn microphone. I really don't know what's up with that. So, the first critique gave a fresh score, reshaping a comic book adaptation into modern myth, told with wonder, sincerity, and soul. Superman the movie didn't just make you believe a man could fly, it made you want to. It made it you want to. Interesting. The next one is also a fresh score with a 3 out of 4, so that'd be a 7.5 out of 10. The film is a delightful mess. Good performance, sloppy editing, cheap, non flying special effect. Oh, I disagree with that. The movie did age well on that aspect, but hey, to each their own. Funny dialogue. In some, Superman is kind of picture critiques tear apart, but still say you do what you do, and you do it right, I guess. I really don't know what's up with my mic. Each time I change tab, I get muted. What was fun in the comic book? What is still fun in the comic book 40 years later is also fun in the movie. The fun is scaled up. To be sure, the fun is spectacular, but is never snide, never mocking. And that's another fresh score. Now, the first rotten score is the fourth critique. Superman is super bore. Kind of sad, but each their own. So let's take a look to the audience. What did they have to say about that movie? So the audience has something very different to say. Love the old Superman movie. The best Superman film. Love the Superman movies. The best Superman film. I just realized I was muted again. But these two folks, they gave a 10 out of 10, a masterpiece. I am not surprised. Let's take a look to others. So that's a 8 out of 10 and a 10 out of 10. The classic superhero movie still holds up. Some scenes are campy, but for sure, but the old film was enjoyable and is better than Men of Steel. Greatest super movie ever made. Interesting. Overall, people liked it. Only one critic gave a rotten score. Superman was a massive success for many. This is this is what we are talking about. We are cooking here. That movie is a classic. Again, I had given a 9.7. The original Superman is a classic. It's beloved for valid reason, and yeah, that's the consensus. People agree on that. Now, let's get into Man of Steel before the big discussion about Superman 2. So, I will just delete the right tab. And we are back here. Again, my mic. We will screen share. So, Man of Steel was directed by Zack Snyder, screenplay by David S. Goyer, story by David S. Goyer, Christopher Nolan, based on characters appearing in comic book published by DC Entertainment, produced by Charles Roven, Christopher Nolan, Emma Thomas, Deborah Snyder, starring Henry Cavill, the worst Superman, Amy Adams, the worst Lois Lane, Michael Shannon, can't remember that character. Actually, maybe that was actually the worst Jonathan Kent. I might be wrong on that. Oh no, Michael Shannon. It's actually Zod. You know what? Zod is the only good character in that movie, but I got him mixed up with Jonathan Kent, you know? Terrible. So now my mic will cut off again. So, Kevin Costner is actually Jonathan Kent, I believe. So that one is the worst. Jonathan Kent. Diane Lane. I think that's Martha. The worst Martha we had. Lawrence Fishburne. That's the worst Perry White we had. He just doesn't feel like Perry White. He's too tough, he's too big. Angie Troy. I can't remember that actress. Hayat Zuro. I can't remember her either. Christopher Meloni. I don't know the guy. Russell Crowe. I can't remember which character he played. Oh, actually, maybe that was Joe Rell. So actually, that's a decent Joe Rell, I think. Cinematography, Hemir Mukri. Edited by David Brenner. Music by Hans Zimmer. Actually, Hans Zimmer is great for the music. Production companies: Warner Bros. Picture, Legendary Picture, DC Entertainment, Syncope. My mic will cut off again. So, the next thing is, well, Peters Entertainment was also involved in the production. Distributed by Warner Bros. Picture. Release date June 10th, 2013. In the all. But June 14th, the USA. Running time 143 minutes. Countries: USA, UK. English language. Budget 225 million to 258 million. Box office 670 million. It made money. It made money. It didn't really make lots of money, but it did make money. It did pay itself back. Just like the new Superman movie. Anyway, Man of Steel was a movie among many. A different take, a different perspective. I wasn't a fan. I don't think it's Superman. It's moody. It's some alien. Some alien is depressed and he doesn't want to save lives despite having so much powers. That's how I feel. So the movie made money. What did the Rotten Tomato folks think of Man of Steel? Let's get into it. Let's get into it. I am searching for the Man of Steel Rotten Tomato. There we go. There we go. There we go. So I will actually drink some water. I will give you folks something good to look at. So the critique were at like 50, while the audience was like 70, 80. This is what's going on with that movie. I will just grab some water. So let's read out some of the audience comments and some of the critic comments. So, the first one to get into. Let's get into it. Rotten score. Snyder is an adrenaline junkie forever. Jonathan for a fix. He does less building to the action beats than backing each one into the next. So that's a rotten score from Jason Billy. Flavor Wire. Chris Sogerman with a B plus. Clark, multiple father and son tales are beautifully realized, and it's a very fun movie to watch. However, the romance is shallow. I get it. Lois Lane sucks in that movie. I'm sorry, folks, if you like that Lois Lane. I think she's terrible. I like the actress, but I think that Lois Lane didn't feel like Lois Lane. So I remember giving this movie 8.5 out of 10. Um, so that'd be about a B plus. So we are very similar, this guy and myself. So now my mic will be cut off as I go back to Rotten Tomato to slide something. We got 2 rotten score in a row. That singer the dissolve. 2 out of 5, so that'd be a 4 out of 10. A gritty, realistic story shot by a director whose instinct constantly push him away from grit and realism and into flash and fantasy. I feel that. I understand that. Cal Logan, another rotten score. So we got 4 rotten score, folks. Oh, no, actually, sorry, 3 rotten score and 1 good score. So the 4th rotten score by Cal Logan, Cultured Vulture. The film first half feels like a highlight reel of set pieces from Clark's youth, and the second is a relentless barrage of oversized action that doesn't even look good. With about 20 minutes of plot stuck, I don't know what's next, but basically that person didn't like the pacing. And I also had the pacing as one of my issues with that movie. Interesting. I understand these critiques. So now let's take a look to the audience because it was a far more popular movie for the audience back then. So that one is a 10 out of 10. The movie was great, but I hate the subtle machine. We need the glasses back, not the cup holder thing. So that's a 10. And now we got a 1.5. So that's like 3 out of 10. I hate this movie, but I love the action. I feel you, my friend. Good action and story with a 10 out of 10. This time around, we got a 8 out of 10. Good movie, a lot better than the reviews say. I don't know, like it's 75 for the audience and 56 for the critique. I think it's bang on. I liked it more than the critique or the audience, but I agree with every critique that's out there. Anyway, in my books, Man of Steel was a successful movie. I gave a 8.5. It wasn't a great Superman movie though. It was depressed alien hates himself in the world and feel forced to save some life, even if he shouldn't. That's how I feel about Man of Steel. And I think that's how a lot of people feel as well. Now, now, the big discussion. The discussion about the new Superman, or I should say, no, it's not new, it's old, but the Superman I didn't cover previously on my channel. The Superman 2. So I cannot wait to talk about that. So we will screen share the right page. We will screen share the right page. So, Superman 2. Okay. We got two versions of Superman 2. And in my review, I will explain the big difference between both versions. But we will basically take a look to this wiki page about one of the two cuts of Superman, directed by Richard Lester. There's also a Donner cut, screenplay by Mario Puzo, David Newman, Leslie Newman, story by Mario Puzo, based on Superman by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. I'm Sackard, another name. Produced by Pierre Spengler. Starring Gene Hackman. Well, wait. Oh, right. It wasn't it. That's name right. I had doubt I was covering the wiki page of the first Superman, but now I just remembered it was part of it. That's true. Christopher Reeve, Ned Beatty, J.K. Cooper, Sarah Douglas. So we got Margot Kidder is back. Jack O'Halloran, Valerie Perrine, Susanna York, Clinton James, E.G. Marshall, Mark McClure, Terrence Stamp. Cinematography by Jeffrey Unsworth, Robert Pater, edited by John Victor Smith, music by Ken Thorne. Production companies: Dove Mead Ltd. International Film Production, distribution by Columbia MI, Warner Distributor UK, Warner Bros. US. Release date December. So back then, that was still a Christmas movie. So it only became a summer movie in the 2000. Release dates in Australia and wow, different years. Wow, that's surprising. Running time 127-minute. Countries UK, USA. Language English. Budget 54 million. Box office 216.3 million. So it did like roughly 4 times its budget. It's not as successful as the original, but that's to be expected. At that point, that movie has been, or that franchise, I should say, has been making lots of money because they got like 110 million budget for both movies, and they did like 8 times that profit if we put together the profit of both movies. Fascinating. So at some point we will have diminishing returns, but that movie was so very successful. And in the third episode of this season of the Red Blue podcast, we will talk about the third one, which was a terrible movie. Anyway, let's take a look to Rotten Tomato, and then we will do a deep dive with my review. What did I think? And what's all that talk about? So, the audience 88%, rewind, the critic 88% and the audience 76. Quite light across the spectrum. Very different from Men of Steel. They all agree. So, J. Scott Globe and Mel. Christopher Reeve's performance, Gene Hackman performance, and the performance of the special effect team are the three pressing reasons to see Superman 2 with a fresh score. Ron Bass, Toronto Star. Another fresh score. But what gives Superman depth and believability lacking in other movies adapted from the comics? Popeye and the Flash Gordon immediately come to mind is the attention to character. They liked it. They liked it. Hell yeah. Megan Morris, Sydney Morning Herald. The special effects are spare but spectacular, and the delightful, showy tricks are spaced out by comic venture into romance, tourism, and human drama. Richard Friedman, Network, Star Ledger. Against all the laws governing sequel, Superman 2 is a much better movie than the original. Oh, I strongly disagree, but I guess that's how they feel, to each their own. Let's take a look to the audience. What did they say about Superman 2? The first comment from the audience, Bob R, with a 8 out of 10, by far the best movie of the Reeves era. It's a shame his tricks didn't get better script. Reeves is great, and Terrence also is great. A solid sequel that continues the General Zod plotline. Terrence Stamp is an awesome villain as General Zod. Another 8 out of 10. Up to now, people are really liking this. So now that's the worst score we got. We got a 6 out of 10 from Spencer P. Superman the movie was the setup, and Superman 2 was the payoff, with satisfying direction for the vain love storyline. 10 out of 10, top notch. My favorite Superman movie. Consensus. People liked it. And I will break that bubble. I will break that bubble because I think this is when the Superman franchise take a drop. And they do a full nosedive with the third one. Cannot stand the third one. it was an abomination, and the fourth one it's even worse. It's one of the worst movie of all. But now let's get back our focus to the second one. So what did I think of the second one? So now we will have the full review of Superman 2. My full review, my first review of Superman 2 on this channel. Let's get into it. So I will screen share my letterbox. So this is my review on letterbox. I think I will zoom in a little bit. There we go. So here's how I framed the plot. Three criminals escape a space prison created by Jor-El, the Phantom Zone. And it's also Superman and Kal-El father. They attack Earth while Superman decided to give away his powers to fulfill his love towards Lois. Lex Luthor, of course, wanted to team up with companion that shared his vision. Okay. Now again, on Letterboxd, this is the Donner cut, but this also applies to the other version because later in my review, I basically explain how both versions are very similar in a lot of aspects. So let's get into it. So, as usual, I like to start with my issues. I think the acting didn't age well. That's the first issue. The second issue, convenient how the guards in the tower didn't pay attention so Lex could escape. As much as it was funny, I don't think it was well made. The third issue, the movie broke its own rule by giving back lost powers. The fourth issue, the way Clark gave up his power didn't add up. To top that, why his powers would be an obstacle to his relationship. The fifth issue, stupid that people would go after Zod right after they thought Zod ended Clark's life. The dialogue also didn't age well. This is how I feel toward that movie. There's a lot of stupid. I don't think that movie is all well. I don't think that movie is as much thought of as the original, unfortunately. So again, Superman 2 I think is the start of the decline of the Superman franchise. Now, I may sound overly negative, but there are a lot of positive because I did enjoy lots of the aspect of the movie. So these are my likes. Zod Trial was fun. The recap was entertaining. The Daily Planet was entertaining. Lois Folly trying to force Clark's secret out was kind of fun. The lore was great. Entertaining breakout. Lex was entertaining. Jor-El explaining the villains was fun. Tess Macker was kind of cool. The blank joke landed well. The action was entertaining. The attack on the White House was cool. That was also a big show of power. The next few enjoying, or I should say, enjoying parts of the movie. The final fight was entertaining, the action was cool, the defeat of the bad guys was great. Soup's caring for people made sense. Clark realizing he made a mistake was great. Clark no longer being himself without his powers made sense, and it was well depicted in the movie. The last aspect that's very enjoyable, interesting argument with Jor-El about taking responsibility of people or having happiness. And that's the big difference between both cuts of Superman 2. Now let's take a look to other notes I have related to that movie. This is the final block, this is the final miles of that review. Side note, both versions are similar. The big changes are the pacing and how Jor-El tries to convince Clark to not give away his power in the Donner cut. The other cut had Lara celebrating and being happy for Soups, while the Donner made the process more serious. Long story short, the Donner version is slightly above the other but has similar issues since both movies were the same. Donner improvements would be pacing and Jor-El, but that was it. So what I mean by that is, in the other version, I guess that was a theatrical, I don't know, but in the other version, Lara was cheering up Clark. She was happy Clark was giving away his power for love and for Lois. And in the Donner cut, it's like Jor-El was like, it's something serious. You shouldn't be doing that, but if you want to do that, we will do that. That's two very different tones about giving away your power for love, and I really prefer the Donner cut. So yeah, long story short, I will give Superman 2 a 7.5 out of 10. So in the 3 Superman movie we covered tonight, I think it's my least favorite simply because there was a lot of stupid in the movie. But I get it. I get what they were trying to do and say, and that's a classic because it's still a time where the Superman movies were still decent. It's not Superman 3 or 4. These two are a disaster. Well. What did you think of this super discussion outside of my mic glitches? I did enjoy talking about Superman. Coming next week in the Red Blue podcast, we talk about Batman 89 and we talk about Batman Returns. Coming next on the channel, we talk about Preacher, and Saturday, there's a big question mark, politics, but that might be one of the last few politics stream for quite some time, and I will explain why on Saturday because I think it's the right moment. That's sad, but that's going on. Like, Canada is a grim place. With that being said, Resident Evil Requiem right after this. I will set up my stream for gaming. We will only go for an hour this time around. And that was the Red Blue podcast. And you get an idea of what we will get this season. A lot of comic book related things. The Red Bull podcast is aiming for 10 seasons. This is season 8. We are the last 3. I enjoyed doing this podcast. I enjoyed doing this episode. With that being said, I hope you also enjoyed watching. And I am out. Have a great night and day.
Yeah, that Blue podcast. Come check the scene. Movies old and new. Know what I mean? The Red Blue podcast. Come check the scene. Movies old and new. Know what I mean?